Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing this dinosaur ear flap hat. We're not going to be using the same colors. Well, I'm going to be using the same green, but I'm not going to be using it for the hat. So I'll show you. I just got this yesterday. So I'm going to use this. It doesn't come in a cake. I made it a cake, which I did a video for. It comes in a big ginormous ball. 649 yards of a ball. And it is called Gravel Print. From Red Heart Comfort. I got this at Walmart for 10 bucks. So that's what I'm using for the hat. And then for the spikes, which is the green that I used for the hat I just showed you. It is a brunette. And the color is spring green. They're all 4 weights. I am using, I think they both require a 5 or a 5.5. That's a 5 right there. And then this one is a 5.5 for this stuff. But I'm using a 5mm. So let's begin. Get my setup going. So you're going to need to do a magic ring. And my magic rings that I do with you, I generally, let's lighten this up a bit. I generally do the magic ring and the chain one. But I am going to, this seems so dark. Let me lighten this up, okay. But we're going to do a chain 2 after the magic ring. So let's do the magic ring. So that's our chain 1 that we normally do to create the magic ring. Oh, I'm starting off great. That's the chain 1 we usually automatically do. But that's because we put single crochets generally in here. But you're going to put another chain. So you have chain 2. You're going to put 10 double crochets into this magic ring. That's my 10, so I'm going to pull this closed. So you can slip stitch to the top of that first chain. And now mine might be hard to see. It might be not a good material to use to do a tutorial with. But so I'm just going to slip stitch to the top of that first chain, and I'm going to chain 2. So throughout this project, we are going to put 1 double crochet into that same chain 2 space. The reason being is so that we don't have a seam. I hate seams. I absolutely hate seams. So to cut down on the seam, so where you just did that slip stitch into that first chain and that chain 2, you're going to put a double crochet in that same space. So this should cut down on the seam a bit. So you're going to put 2 double crochets in each stitch around. So with your 2 here, you should have 20. All the way around, you're going to slip stitch to the top of that first chain. You're going to chain 2. You're going to put a double crochet into that chain 2 space and get snagged on something. So your second round is going to be 1 double crochet and an increase. That's 1 double crochet. Your next stitch gets the increase of 2 double crochets. And repeat. So I've come to the end of my round. So this little stitch right there that people say, don't use it. That's not an actual stitch. Well, it really helps in hiding the seam. So we're going to use it. We're going to put 1 double crochet in there because I'm done my sequence. So I don't need 2 in there. But if you're doing your sequence and you need to put 2 in there, then put 2 in there. You're going to slip stitch to the top of that first chain, and you're going to chain 2. So if you're using a pattern that's just a solid color, you're going to notice that there's not going to be much of a seam. It's going to be very difficult to find by doing this technique and then using that chain that everyone says don't use. So your next round is going to be 2 double crochets and an increase. This technically is 2. So we start counting our sequence. So that's 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and an increase. Now we are using that chain to slip stitch 2. So you can't technically count this one. This one you can. So when you're counting to make sure you have the right count, count that one as well as the one that we put in the fake stitch. So repeat that sequence, 1, 1, 2, all the way around. So the increase is the 2 in the same space. That's your increase. Round 4. So your next round is going to be 3 double crochets and an increase. If you want the written pattern, the link's below from my Etsy store. You can go find it there, along with just about everything else I do. Actually, there's stuff in the store that I haven't done a video for yet, so you can go check that out if you want. Make this a habit, the 2 in the same space. So 3 double crochets and an increase. Three double crochets, and then your next stitch gets 2 double crochets. That's your increase. And then you repeat. So your next round is going to be, hold on, let me put my double crochet in, or not. Have you ever just drank so much coffee in the morning that you can't crochet? So your next round is round 5, which is 4 double crochets and an increase. My 4 double crochets, and then my increase of 2 double crochets in the same space, and repeat. Alrighty, this is what you should have, and yep, starting to curl. Don't worry, once this starts getting worn, there won't be that point. Once I put it on my mannequin head first time, that point disappeared, so don't worry about the point. So your next round is going to be round 5, and it's going to be, round 6 is going to be 5 double crochets and an increase. If you need the hat to be a smaller size, at this point it's 6 inches. So if you need it to be a smaller size, you can stop here. You don't have to do another row. I'm only doing one more row to make it so it should fit a a child's head that's 18-19 inches. But if you don't need one that big, then you can stop here at 60 stitches. So, but I'm going to carry on. I'll do other videos of smaller hats. So you're going to do 5 double crochets. And then your increase of 2 double crochets in the same space. And repeat. So for the next 5 rounds, you're going to put 1 double crochet in each of these 70 stitches, or 60, depending on where you stopped. Just remember that each beginning of each row has to start with the the chain 2 and a double crochet in the chain 2 space in order to cut down on your seam, and then try to get 1 in that last DC. So you can go ahead and do your 5 rows. I'll put my screens up and I'll see you on the other side. Alright, so this is what your hat should look like at this point. This is what you should have. So we're going to fasten off. Okay, so you're going to fold your hat in half. You're going to find the middle and the ends, and you're going to put stitch markers. So hopefully you have stitch markers. I'm going to use 2 of these big guys, and then I'm going to use some of these smaller ones. So I could just tell you the number of stitches, but I'm going to show you how I found a point for my ear flaps so that you can make your own hats and you can find your own points. So folding the hat in half, making sure that that seam, which is really impossible to find. So when you fold it in half, you've got these 2 stitches. Pick one of those 2 stitches to put your thing into, and you're going to pick that same stitch on this side, because you don't want them to be uneven. So I started with that. So once I found my spots, I wanted an uneven number so that I got a point at the end of my ear flap. So I counted 5 stitches to either side of the marker, and I put another marker. So don't count this stitch. 2, 4, and that's 5. So I'm going to put a marker there. Again, don't count this stitch. 2, 4, that's 5. So I'm going to put a marker there. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Not counting that. 2, 4, 5, so I'm going to put a marker there. 2, 4, 5. I'm going to put a marker there. So now you can take out these big markers. You don't need those anymore. So, leave that open. So this is where I'm going to start. Before we do anything though, let's get rid of this guy in the middle. You can tie a knot and cut it off. However, this is going to be on a kid's head, so I would advise against it. So make sure that is closed well enough. So, oh, I came undone. Okay, now that that's out of the way, you want the outside of the hat facing you. You're going to get your yarn and you make a slip knot. So make that as small as your hook. You can take it off. You're going to go into this stitch that you had your marker in. You're going to put that back on your hook. you're going to pull through and you're going to make a stitch. So pull that tight. You want to weave in this end too. So we're going to be doing 11 double crochets. So even though you just attached and made a stitch, you're going to make a double crochet in that same space. And you're going to be able to use that stitch. So now you're going to do 11 stitches across to the other marker. That was number 1. Weaving in that tail. And that's 11. You're going to chain 2 and you're going to turn. You're going to do 11 double crochets on top of the 11 double crochets. You need to start in this first stitch. This is a stitch. A lot of people go right into this one and they miss this one. It doesn't keep your lines straight. So you do that for everything. Blankets, scarves, anything you need a straight line. If you're not getting one, that's probably why. So you're going to yarn over, and you're going to start double crocheting in 11 double crochets across. So you're basically just right on top of your other 11 double crochets. So this is the attached stitch we did, and this is the double crochet stitch we did. So it's kind of turned over a bit, but chain 2, turn your work. So we're going to start decreasing already. I know it's hard to see there, that's easier. So we're going to start decreasing. So this is round 3 of your ear flap. You're going to double crochet 2 together. That's how we're going to do a decrease. So you're going to do double crochet 2 together here and then 2 together here. So I got numbers for you, so don't fret. So go into this very first stitch. You're going to pull through 2 and stop. You're going to yarn over again and go through the next stitch. You're going to pull through 2 and then you're going to pull through 3. So that's how you double crochet 2 together. So now you should have 7 double crochets in the middle. You got 7 double crochets, and then you should have 2 stitches left. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to yarn over and go in, pull through 2, yarn over, go into your last stitch, pull through 2, pull through 3, chain 2, and turn. So you're going to repeat the same thing that we just did. Yarn over, go through your first stitch, pull through 2 and stop, yarn over, go through your next stitch, pull through 2, then pull through 3. You're going to double crochet 5, you should have 2 stitches left. You're going to yarn over, you're going to pull through 2, yarn over, go into your next stitch, pull through 2, then pull through 3, chain 2 and turn. You're going to double crochet 2 together, you're going to double crochet 3, These last 2 stitches you're going to double crochet together. Chain 2 and turn. Sorry. So you're going to double crochet these 2 together. You're going to double crochet 1, and you're going to double crochet these 2 together. Chain 2 and turn. And now you're probably thinking, what in the heck? Such an uneven number. You're right. We don't generally work with uneven numbers when we crochet. However, because I wanted a point on the end of this, so you're going to double, so you have 3 stitches. You're going to double crochet 2 together, and then this last one is just a double crochet. So it gives it a different look, but enough that you're going to be able to get your strands in there when we do the ties. So you can fasten off. You don't need a tail. Just enough to weave. So you can go ahead and you can use your markers, do your other ear flap, and I will meet you back here and we will proceed. Alright, so this is what your hat should look like now with your 2 ear flaps. So now we're going to add some color around. This is something that you don't need to do. Let me show you my other hat. So I used the color that I used for the scales. I just put that around because I did my ties in these 2 colors. So I've chosen the green, which you already know. So it doesn't really matter where you start. I think my seam is back here, but I'm not sure. You can start wherever you want to start. Actually, I don't know. It's so hard to see the seam. I'm not sure. It doesn't really matter where you start. But you're going to do the same thing that you did before and just make a slip knot. So you're going to go into the hat wherever you decide to start. You're gonna put your slip knot over that, pull it tight. So you're gonna make a stitch, and that's just attaching. What we're gonna do is half double crochets all the way around the perimeter of the hat in this different color. So a half double crochet, in case you don't know, is you yarn over. You're going to go into the same one you just made that stitch in. Pull through. So a double crochet, you'd pull through 2 and pull through 2. Well, this half double crochet, you're just going to pull through all 3. So it's a nice tight, fast stitch. And you're going to do that in every single stitch around the entire hat. I'm weaving in my tail here just so I don't have to worry about it later. I don't know if you've seen my Hello Kitty hat, but we're doing the exact same thing. So when you get here, you don't have stitches. So you're just going to jam your hook in wherever it can fit, and you're going to make stitches. And by jam, I don't mean roughly. I just mean stick your hook in wherever you can get your hook in and make a stitch. So there's no counts, there's no stitch counts or, you know, anything like that, because I don't know where you're jamming your hook in. So I'm not going to be able to give you a count on this, but I mean, it's just a decorative, you don't even have to do this. part. So you've got a stitch or two up here you can hit, and I would put a couple of stitches, and I always do, into this one here. I always put a couple of stitches just so it rounds the corner a little bit, and then it also leaves me that nice space to put these things through. So alright, so I'm back around to where I started, so I'm just going to go into this stitch, and I'm going to slip stitch, and I'm going to fasten off. Again, you don't need a long tail or anything, just whatever you want to weave in. So try to go into a few different directions when you're weaving, if you've got the space to. If the yarn does try to pull free, it's got different directions it's going to need to go. And then if you weaved in, you can just snip off your little extra pieces. So far, now we just got our scales to do, and then our little ties. So let's get moving on to the scales for now. So I'm going to do my scales in green because that's what I just did the border for. You need to make, well, I mean, I made 5. Pretty sure. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so I did 5 on this hat for an 18-inch head. Like, I don't know what size of head you're doing. It all depends on, you know, the size of hat that you did. So if you stopped at the 60 count and you didn't go with me to the 70 count, you might only get 4 scales on. Anyway, so I'm going to do 5 again. I'm not going to do all 5 with you, but make a magic ring. What is my problem today? Alright. You are going to put 6 single crochets inside this magic ring. So you can use a stitch marker, but it's not really that necessary. So you're going to do 1 single crochet increase. We want a point on this, so we don't want to do the 2 single crochets in each stitch like we normally do. We want to jump right into an increase. So if I can get into the first stitch, you're going to do 1 single crochet increase. That's your 1 single crochet. So if you're using a stitch marker, that's where it's going to go. Or you can just do it 3 times. So my next stitch will get the increase. So that's your sequence. So you're going to do it again. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, and 1 more time. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets. So you should have 9 stitches. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. So that's 1 with your stitch marker. Next stitch gets 1. So that's 2 single crochets. Then your next stitch gets your increase. So 1, 1, 2. Pull your middle. You can turn it inside out now since it's starting to curl. I'm just going to cut this off a little bit, because because it kind of gets on my nerves. So for the next 4 rows, you should have 12 stitches now. So for the next 4 rows, you're going to put 1 single crochet in those 12 stitches. I don't generally use stitch marker for this, but I'll show you. So I've got my 4 rows done. So I'm just going to go into the next stitch. I'm going to slip stitch and I'm going to fasten off. You're going to need a sewing tail. So go through the next stitch here, backwards. Pull this through. Pull up. So we are going to put a little bit of stuffing in here. Just a little wee bit. Don't have to, it doesn't take much, and you don't have to put much, you don't have to put any. I'm going to put some because I want this to keep standing up on the hat. I don't want it to, you know, collapse or flump over. So we are going to sew the top shut. And then you still have enough to sew to the hat. So there's your little scale. You're going to want to do however many you want, and I'll meet you back here and we'll sew them on. Alright, so I've got all mine made. I've got them stuffed. I've got them ready to go. I did 5 altogether. So, to get them sewn onto the hat, you need to basically find your middle. I'm going to tell you right now, this is not easy. So once you figure out where your middle is, I like to start right at the top circle, because this is the way it sits, but we're going to sew them on this way. So I'm going to fold the hat in half like that, because it's might make it easier. I'm not sure. It was very difficult. So anyway, I'm going to line it up. I'm going to hold it from underneath the hat just to get it started, because I definitely don't want this moving. So I've just gone down into the hat. I'm going to pop up into the scale. So I just want to tack it down in place. Pinning it doesn't seem to help. So because you can go down into the hat and back up, that's probably your easiest choice of routes to go. It's still awkward, still very awkward. So I sewed both sides just to make sure it keeps standing up. So I'm just going to go down and up and down and up. You might have a different way to sew this on that might be easier. I'm not a sewer. Not that I haven't learned anything along the way trying to be a sewer. Cannot find my thing to pull. But I am not very good at sewing. So once you get yours on, I just like to come to the other side, and I've got a hold of it this side so I know where it is. I want to go down and I just want to stitch across the bottom of it, as I just really don't want these coming off. So I'm just stitching across the bottom, and now I'm going to come back so I can do my knots. So I'm going to go through that loop and I'm going to make a knot. So if you pull back and forth like that, it's a nice tight knot. And then I'm going to make another knot. So these are knots that no child will feel on their head. They are so tiny. And then you can just snip that off. So I didn't quite get mine in the middle. I hope yours turns out better. Anyway, I'll keep going. So I've got all my scales on. Didn't really get them that even, but that's the front of my hat, I think. Yeah. So we are going to do the ties now. And you gotta make them long enough that they will tie around the child's neck. So I take 1.5 arms length, but it should measure about, well, let's see what it measures at. I'm going to cut a piece off. Let's see. I'll just measure it quick here. I mean, you can do what you want, however long you want. Let's measure in inches. I know I've seen them where they don't even look long enough to tie around the child's neck. So I did just about 37.5 inches long. It's up to you. I just do 1.5 arms length. So I'm going to do 6 of each color. Don't worry if it's not all even. We're going to cut some off. I feel like I'm macrameing again. So that was 6, I'm pretty sure. 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'm going to do 6 of the green. So that's my 6. So you're going to take 3 of each color and you're going to separate them. So I've got 3 green and 3 of the gray. Find that hole that you created. Let's go through this way. You stick your hook through and you're going to try to grab this gaggle of stuff and pull through. So once you've pulled through, you've got to even it up. So make it even on the ends here. And then you're going to tie a knot up here. So pull that really tight. So now we braid. So you're going to separate these into 3 sections. So you got to separate all your colors too to make it look decent. So 2 gray, 2 green. You don't have to do this either, I'm just saying. And then we braid. So if you don't know how to braid, you're going to have these 3 pieces. This piece is going to go over the middle piece, and then you're going to pull the middle out to the side. So now you've got a new middle Now you're going to take this piece and you're going to put that over the middle, and you're going to take the middle and pull that out to the side. So now you have another new middle. To do again. So that's how you braid. So once you get down where you think it's long enough for a tie, you're going to take all this and you're going to make a knot. So I got to push mine down because I used some of my braid to make the knot. Pull it tight, and then you're just going to kind of give it a haircut and leave a little. If this is a hat for a girl, girls like dinosaurs too, you can put a pom-pom on the end of that if you want. Repeat. So make sure that you're going to be even here when you make your other knot, and then when you do your haircut, just make sure you're even there too. There we go. We're all done. Our dinosaur hat. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you in the next video.